Shabbos. Because everyone knows that if hearing jingle bells makes you crave dim sum, you might be an American Jew on Christmas. And if when booking winter travel, you decide the best day to fly is December 25th, you may be an American Jew on Christmas. And if you smell gingerbread and suddenly start paying attention to the movie trailers and film reviews, you too may be an American Jew on Christmas. And if you're driving around to admire how neighbors decorate their homes and you're thinking, isn't Hanukkah the festival of lights? Boy, did we miss the boat. Yeah, you too are an American Jew on Christmas. And if your favorite songs at this time of year are White Christmas and Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, and you secretly take pride in the Jewish authorship of these and many other Christmas classics, you are most definitely an American Jew on Christmas. And here's the thing. We pretend that Christmas means nothing to us. It's not our holiday, so we don't have to pay attention to it. Growing up, I'm so sorry. I'm missing a page. Oh, there we go. But I was going to say, I'm like, we're not there yet. Sorry. So yes, growing up, I pretended Hanukkah was what everything was supposed to be focused on. Christmas was nothing. But just as American Jews have embraced holidays such as Thanksgiving and Halloween and Valentine's Day, Christmas too has become something that is a reality in our lives. But it's not a Christian's Christmas, don't get me wrong. It's a Jewish Christmas. Is it a day imbued with spirituality? No, not for us. Are we remembering the birth of Christ? No. Most of us don't know this has anything to do with Jesus. And even those who do probably couldn't name all the figures in that little nativity scene. But it is a day filled with our own special traditions, filled with food, family, and friends. The American Jewish Christmas has become a cultural Jewish experience, and it's epitomized by the tradition of eating Chinese food. Rabbi Joshua Plout argues that to eat Chinese on Christmas is a ritual not unlike the rituals that traditional Judaism requires, and notes that Judaism has always valued observance where Christianity has valued faith. Writer Mark Tracy says that for some, the Chinese on Christmas experience is a replacement for traditional rituals. It is basically a prayer you can eat. Now I'd like to share that growing up, I believe this was simply what we did because it was the only option. What else was open? But there is much more to this story than modern-day conveniences. That's why the tradition continues, even though there are a multitude of options for Jews on Christmas in today's world. I had a friend in high school that enjoyed pointing out the extent to which Jews love Chinese food by telling a joke. If the Hebrew calendar, do you know it? If the Hebrew calendar is approximately 1,000 years older than the Chinese calendar, he asked, what did Jews eat for the first 1,000 years? His answer, that's why it was called the Dark Ages. Well, that's not exactly accurate. Mark Tracy writes that Jews' love for Chinese food is neither hallucinated nor arbitrary. It is very real and very determined, and it originates roughly a century ago in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. While here in Texas, we know that not all Jews came to America through Ellis Island, and in the immigrant melting pot that was America, lots of Jews came, though. But it wasn't only Jews. New York was also flooded with many immigrant communities. Additionally, the Lower East Side was located just below Chinatown. Very early on, Jewish people seemed to find a comfort in Chinese establishments that they could not find elsewhere. Maybe this was because the Chinese restaurants were not generally filled with Christian art and dripping in images Jews knew to be religiously incompatible with their own beliefs. While there was something foreign in a Chinese establishment, it wasn't threatening. Whereas walking into an Italian restaurant, on the other hand, may have felt like walking into a church. It also could be because of the low levels of anti-Semitism in the Chinese community. For Asian Americans, Jewish Americans often seemed, quite simply, white. In their eyes, we had white privilege, and in our hearts, we enjoyed feeling American and privileged and sophisticated. Ultimately, though, many people believe it was the food itself. In her cookbook, Jewish Cooking in America, Joan Nathan notes the similarities between Chinese cuisine and Jewish cuisine. She explains that the food was within the budget of many families, it was served family style, and wontons are akin to kreplach. They use chicken broth, and they do not mix meat and milk. Another writer notes that they also utilize a sweet and savor flavor profile. They love overcooked vegetables and heaps of garlic and onion. What do you think? Needless to say, Chinese cooking had many similarities to Jewish cooking, and that made it very compatible with Jewish taste buds. But let's be honest, Chinese food does use some ingredients which Jews don't traditionally eat. While there are tons of kosher Chinese establishments in today's world, this wasn't the case in the early 1900s. Most menus contained pork and shellfish galore. Still, the way it was prepared helped it become a Jewish staple. An article by Gay Tushman and Harry Levine notes this phenomenon and coined the term safe treif. That's right. They said this is how our community viewed Chinese food, and they wrote that Chinese cooking disguises the tabooed ingredients by cutting, chopping, and mincing them. Chinese food could be adopted by rebellious Jews because the forbidden substance were so disguised that dishes did not reflexively repulse and undermine their ability to rebel. They also wrote that many Jews appreciated this disguise. They loved to eat egg rolls in Chinese restaurants because the pork and seafood tasted delicious, but were so minced that they could pretend these ingredients were not there. One woman in her 40s, whom they write about, recalled dining regularly as a child with her sister, mother, and grandmother. The girls ate spare ribs and sweet and sour pork, but the mother, of course, did not eat any pork. And the grandmother pretended not to know there was treif on the table. And in its disguise, this treif became safe and embraced by many Jews. Now, I think this is hysterical. But the crazy part is that it's also historical. Our community has a rich history with Chinese food. Like so many immigrant nations, we've been influenced greatly by the cultures around us, and we don't need to be ashamed of that. We should be proud of it. Just as it's been for thousands of years, our traditions, our celebrations, and our recipes interact with those we meet. And unless you are part of the ultra-orthodoxy that has decided anything new since the Enlightenment is actually bad and forbidden from Jewish encounter, your Jewish world has been influenced by outside culture. So tonight, after the service, when we join together for Egg Foo Shabbos, we will be embracing and celebrating the way our American history has played with our religious history. How our experience of December 25th is not one of a lonely outsider any longer, but rather one filled with our own unique customs. And while we, of course, love and embrace Hanukkah traditions, which this year Hanukkah does happen to fall at the same time as Christmas, we know that Hanukkah is not our Christmas experience. Hanukkah is a beautiful, fun holiday with lore and treats that make it a special festival all on its own. No, Our Christmas, our Jewish Christmas experience, is something special and unique, filled with songs and films created by members of our tribe, punctuated by seeing familiar faces at the movie theater, hearing about the matzo ball and knowing it's not a reference to soup, but rather a young Jewish singles event that's held across the country, and sitting down with family and friends for a holiday feast of egg rolls, dumplings, lots of laughter, and love. So tonight, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a Merry Jewish Christmas.